What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your second stimulus check update. And we have some good news, we have some bad news, and we have a lot of misinformation. I'm going to clear everything up with you guys about the stimulus check, about the unemployment extension, about the government shutdown. We're going to go over all the details of it in this video. But first, if you can, give this video a like down below. It really helps out our channel. My wife and I do all the research for you every single day regarding all these issues, and we bring it to you in a quick, concise video. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't yet. This way you won't miss out on second stimulus check and related news updates. Okay, first up, the Senate passed the bill to prevent a government shutdown, which would have happened at midnight. And they did pass that bill, and we will not see a government shutdown, at least at this point. It's just a temporary pause to the government funding to prevent a government shutdown. The senators voted 84 to 10 to keep the government funded at current levels through December 11th, setting up another funding fight after the November elections and right before the holidays. In addition to extending the government funding, the bill adds $8 billion in nutrition assistance programs. It allows for farm aid distributed through the Commodity Credit Corporation, but measures sought by Democrats to prevent payments to fossil fuel refiners and importers, and expands an expiring program to provide low-income children with meals to include child care centers impacted by the pandemic-related closures. Now, this is just a temporary bill, and the government shutdown will happen again on December 11th if they can't pass another bill to basically fund the government to the end of the year of September 30th of next year. And they have to basically just continue to do this process over and over every year to fund the government just for a year. And again, this bill only takes us to December 11th. So then they have to pass another bill to prevent a government shutdown on December 12th. The government. So at least this was good news because we didn't see a government shutdown. Government employees didn't lose their jobs. You know, this did prevent a lot of problems from happening. If you remember the last government shutdown, it was a hot mess express, probably even worse than the debate. If you didn't catch my 8 p.m. video from last night, go watch it. It's got some good commentary with my wife. It was a pretty fun video to do. Okay, next up, the House of Representatives, and with the Democrat bill, then the new stimulus bill, the bill, the HEROES Act 2.0 or the HEROES Act revised, was not voted on by the U.S. House of Representatives so that they could allow more time for an agreement with the Republicans. There's a lot of bad information going on around about right now that I've seen some pretty just bad information that's just not correct. People not citing their sources, people just storytelling. There's just a lot of bad information going on around. That's why I like to show you guys my sources a lot of times, you know, so you can see it in black and white and read along so you know that a lot of the stuff just isn't completely made up. As you can see here, House Democrats postponed a vote on Wednesday on the $2.2 trillion stimulus bill in hopes that a deal could be reached as negotiations drag on with the White House and a plan to help Americans struggling from the impacts of this pandemic. The vote was postponed until Thursday to allow House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and White House negotiators more time to discuss a potential bipartisan deal, said a Democrat aide. Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin met at the Capitol on Wednesday for their first in-person negotiations since August. They have been talking on the phone pretty much every day as of recently over the stimulus package and over the government shutdown bill. The two sides have been at an impasse for months over the size of the stimulus bill, but rank and file members have pressured congressional leaders to get some sort of relief deal done by Election Day. So what does this all mean? Well, the Democrats, and really I should say the entire House, did not vote on the Democrats' bill in the House. Now remember, the Democrats can pretty much pass that bill by themselves, but they need some Republicans to vote on it in the Senate to pass this bill ultimately into law. Now, we do want the stimulus package to pass. It's our best option because it has so many things. It has the stimulus check of $1,200 for each individual, and also stimulus checks this time around for all dependents, children, college children, and adult dependents that are dependent on somebody else's tax return would receive $500 for all dependents this time around per this bill. There's also an unemployment extension update of the federal boost money of $600 per week all the way into January to help out people that have lost their jobs during this pandemic. Also, there's rental assistance in there that would be able to provide possibly checks for people who are struggling to pay their rent or to pay their mortgage. If that bill passed, we'd be able to get more details on how they would distribute it. And there's lots of other good things in there, like money for schools, money for small business owners through the Paycheck Protection Program. That helped out a lot of people before from the first stimulus package. There's currently about 1 in 6 small businesses have gone bankrupt and gone out of business from this pandemic. That's a very sad fact because a lot of small businesses, almost all small businesses, are just average everyday people that you might know that have a small business, in your local town, or they have an Amazon. Amazon's doing good. Amazon's actually hitting record sales, just like Netflix. A lot of these stay-at-home business where you can just order stuff online are doing well, but as you know, just a lot of people just have different businesses. 1 out of 6 of them have currently gone out of business already. So here's our current path forward. We're going to have a lot of information coming out within the next 24 to 48 hours. The rest of this week is going to be just a lot of information coming out. Really, what they want to come to an agreement. We want them to just come to an agreement because if Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, the Republican negotiator, can come to an agreement, we have a deal. I mean, everything is good then at that point. There's nothing else to talk about but when we're going to get the checks and the details and all that stuff. That is really what we want to happen. But I was the first one to say this weeks ago now at this point, and I really believe that this is a very real possibility of what could happen, is that is the president passing a presidential executive order for stimulus checks. I first said this when he passed the presidential executive order for the unemployment money, because what he did is he passed that order, that presidential executive order, to spend money that was already sitting there in a fund, the disaster relief fund, and he didn't need Congress to pass new money. It was already sitting there unused and had already been approved by Congress. He used that money for the unemployment money, and that turned into 6 weeks of unemployment for most people at $300 per week, $1,800, and some states got $400 per week or $2,400. That money came from a fund, the Disaster Relief Fund and FEMA funds, that were already sitting there and already approved for disaster relief or a pandemic. Okay, so the president just signed a presidential executive order, did that. He also got you the payroll tax holiday. He also got you the eviction moratorium and the student loan payments paused to the end of the year. So I truly do believe, and I've said this for a while, that if they can't come to an agreement and Congress goes back home for recess, which the House is set to go back on recess on Friday is their last day. The Senate stays for like another week after that. But if the House goes back home without a deal, talk about this here in a second. I think that's when the president's going to step in and do a presidential executive order. I mean, we're now down to about 30 days before the election. So now is the time for him to do it. And he did it last time right after Congress went home for their previous recess or vacation, whatever you want to call it. They literally went home. There was like big news. There was like, are they going to come to a deal? It was a big deadline. They had by Friday of that week, and they didn't come to a deal. And literally the very next day, the president said, that's it. I've had it. I'm going to pass these presidential executive orders. And he announced that, I think it was on Saturday, the day after they went home. And on Sunday, he signed the deal. So, and then a lot of people were like, "Oh, he can't do that. That's never going to happen. We're never going to get the money." And then everybody got the money. So, and there was some question on if the Democrats would try to challenge it in court, but then the Democrats realized that if they challenge that in court, that they'll never get reelected, any of them ever. Remember, every single person in the House is up for reelection and 1/3 of the Senate. So if they challenge something that is going to provide additional money, unemployment money for millions of Americans, there's still 26 million Americans receiving unemployment right now, and eviction moratoriums and all that good payroll tax deferral. If they challenge that in court, they're just going to make everybody hate them. So they didn't challenge it in court, and I think the exact same thing would happen when or if he passes the presidential executive order for the stimulus checks, because how are they going to challenge that? Come on. They're not going to challenge that in court. If he signs that at presidential executive order, boom, you get your check right before the election. That's great news for him, and it's great news for us because we get the money, get the checks, and you won't get the unemployment most likely unless he does another executive order for that, which he'd have to have another stack of money sitting somewhere, which at this point, I don't doubt it. I mean, they are the government. They print their own money. They have he said they had a bank account just sitting there with $300 billion that's unused from the first stimulus package. So, you know how many bank accounts they probably have sitting around with billions of dollars? I mean, they have the defense fund, they have the U.S. General Fund, they they have the FEMA fund, they have the disaster relief fund, they have this other fund for $300 billion in stimulus. They got funds just coming out of there. Well, you know what? Now, the other thing that could happen is the House. I just had some apple cider and it's tart. The House can vote on this bill from the Democrats, the HEROES Act 2.0, and they only need 15 senators, Republican senators, I should say, to pass that bill. 15 of them, okay? So they could do that. I mean, 15 people, they need to agree to it. There are a lot of conservative Republicans that kind of lean towards the middle that would possibly agree to a bill if the president told them. If the president gave his endorsement to pass this, he'd still get a lot of credit for doing that. If he gave his endorsement for that, we could probably get those 15 Republicans to pass that bill also, even though it's a Democratic bill. Also, I want to say that October 1st, today, was the deadline for the airlines to either get new stimulus or they're able to lay off thousands and thousands of workers. And the airlines did not get new stimulus because they didn't pass another stimulus package, which the HEROES Act revised does have money for airlines in there, but they didn't pass it yet. So airlines are now free to lay off thousands or tens of thousands of workers, and we're probably going to see that happening this week, unfortunately. We also just had a big announcement by Disney, and Disney just laid off 28,000 employees across its parks, experiences, and consumer product divisions. And honestly, these are the bad kind of signs that the economy is still not doing well when you see companies laying off tens of thousands of employees. Disney actually said that they were down by 85%, and the only thing that's doing good for them right now is the Disney Plus streaming service, which, by the way, The Mandalorian, which has Baby Yoda in it right there. That's not Yoda, that's Baby Yoda, if you didn't know. And my wife says, and Porg right here, this little guy right there, he's named a Porg or a Porgy, but he's from Star Wars, right? Not the Mandalorian. Well, he's from Star Wars, but Baby Yoda's from The Mandalorian, which is a Star Wars spinoff. That returns on October 30th. We cannot wait to watch that on Disney Plus. Let me know if you're going to be watching that because we are big fans. I thought that Mandalorian show was A+. If you haven't watched it yet, watch it on Disney Plus before October 30th so you can watch the second season with us.
So, for all of you guys who are wondering what this was, I added some little ice cubes in it.
I let me know if you know what this is before she says it. Comment down right below if you know what that is before. Bring it a little more, but more this way. If you know what this is before she says what it is. Well, you might be able to read it, but of course you could cheat and just comment on it afterwards. But go ahead.
So this is the Tri-Wizard Cup
You know she's a wizard, right?
from Harry Potter.
You know she was in Harry Potter, right?
Yeah, right. I wish. By the way, do you like my shirt? We love Mario. I grew up playing Mario, and I think you did too.
Absolutely. I used to be real big into video games, but I had to give them up because they just take too much of my time and I get obsessed with them. And now I just have to focus on YouTube and business and putting our message out there, because if not, I'd be playing video games all day.
Well, because they're fun. They tell them why you like it. It takes you away. It relieves your mind of all the daily crap, and you can just go somewhere else for a little while and just have fun and not worry about all the stresses and 2020 issues that we have.
Plus, I always just want to be the best.
Yeah.
So whenever I play a video game, I basically want to like complete everything and be the best at it, and that's just kind of my personality. Just like I'm trying to bring you guys the best YouTube content, and you could see how diligent I am with getting all these videos out every day and getting you all the information. And don't worry, I've had a lot of comments from you guys, a lot of our true fans. We're gonna have plenty of videos after the stimulus.
We will, yes.
Whenever stimulus is over, we have a whole list of videos we're gonna bring you guys. We may even do some family vlogs or maybe some fun content. But I have lots of good content for you guys coming out after the stimulus news is over, whenever that is.
Kiki boy. He wants to. Here's Kiki boy.
So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't. We will keep you guys updated when new information comes out. And you can click on this video over here for my newest stimulus check videos next. And this video teaches you how to start a business selling products on Amazon FBA. We teach people how to sell products on Amazon, and we have students that have replaced their entire 9-to-5 income. Thanks, guys, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye-bye.